Welcome to the Cloud Accounting Podcast, a show for accountants and bookkeepers using cloud technology to make their jobs more strategic and impactful. I'm Blake Oliver.
And I'm David Leary. Hey, Blake, how's it going this week?
It's going great. How about you, David?
The last 2 weeks were super crazy busy. I feel like there's not a lot happening this week, which is good. And I feel like also this is like the feel-good week. I have a good feel-good story if you want to jump right in.
Oh, let's hear it.
Yeah. So this is on CNN. Meet the 15-year-old who is Microsoft Excel's world champion. And yes, this is a real thing, it said.
I love the picture. It's the guy holding the trophy, and he's got his slick back hair, his transitions lenses in his glasses, and he's holding up an American flag with a giant medal around his neck.
Yeah, and he's even got a little American flag lapel, and he's got his tie and his vest on. Like, it's amazing.
Oh, that's great.
And apparently there's a Team USA. So this is a, very patriotic victory. I did not know this was such a big deal, but I think if I just scroll in the article, there was 760,000 candidates from around the world entered the competition.
Wow, that's a lot.
Think about it. 152, the final round, 152 students, 51 countries competed. And they competed from the 29th to August 1st. So it was a couple of days.
And this is an annual competition that, is it Microsoft puts this on? No, it's hosted by Certiport, a provider of performance-based IT certification exams. I guess this is the second year in a row that Team USA has won the Excel portion of the competition.
And he got 1,000 points out of a possible 1,000. So wow. I thought that was kind of easy. The only part of this that disappointed me, though, now he wants to be the best at PowerPoint. And I was like, oh, there's no hope. It was like, just own Excel, like be proud. But no, now it's like, oh, he's going to join the doldrums of corporate America and head down the PowerPoint path as well. The amazing thing is he started learning Microsoft Excel only 1 year ago. So this is in 1 year, he knocked out any Excel world champion. So I did not know there was such a thing. It's a cool feel-good story. We should. I almost thought reading the article, I was like, we should bring him on as a guest.
Kevin Dimikulangan, and he's 15 years old from Florida. So go Florida.
Yeah, it's a cool article, and hopefully maybe it'll, like, the spelling bees are on ESPN now. Like, is this going to be next? People will watch TV of people working on Excel.
So, of course, the question is he going to become an accountant? And unfortunately, it looks like that's not in the cards for him. He is more interested in becoming a software engineer. But, maybe he'll figure out how to make life better for accountants by developing awesome Excel integrated software.
It's cool. I think I go back to my high school days. I think, 15, 16 years old. I remember I was in like a math class with like upperclassmen, and then they all graduated. And so I had like an extra week because they got out of school earlier. And I remember being introduced by the teacher to Excel. Like it maybe is what got me to where I am today. Like I was like, this is amazing. So I could see I could see the appeal of Excel when you're 15 years old.
Well, moving on, I got my copy of the Journal of Accountancy magazine, August issue, and a lot of times I open it up and I have a hard time as a tech guy getting interested in GAAP changes or FASB regulations or standards, right? That sort of thing. But I was really surprised. I found multiple articles in this issue that really appealed to me. And so I thought I'd share one or two of those with you, David.
Yeah, definitely.
First is actually just a stat from a survey. So Deloitte Digital and MIT Sloan did a survey of about 4,300 global business respondents. And they asked these survey takers, do you think that you need to update your skills yearly to work effectively in the digital world? And 90% said yes. So 90% of respondents in this business poll say, I need to update my skills on a yearly basis to keep up in a digital world. Then they asked, how satisfied are you with how your organization is helping you to do so, to learn those skills? And only 34% said yes. So 90% say I need to update my skills. Only 34% say that my organization is helping me to do that.
Got it. So it's just there's a disconnect. Where are they going to get these skills from then if their organization's not helping them get them?
Yeah. And I'll bet you that, like in accounting, it's the same situation. With all the rapid technological change going on in accounting, people need to update their skills. If their organizations aren't helping them, that might be a reason for an accountant to leave, a CPA to leave and go to another organization where they're going to be able to get the skills that they need. So I would say if you're having a hard time, hiring and finding, hiring, retaining talent, consider adding training into your benefits package, right? Allow people to go and go to ERP conferences or learn new technology, because what's worse, if they leave or if they stay with you and they learn stuff? I think I said that all wrong, but there's a there's a common saying around that.
Well, it's expensive, right? And I mean, you've talked about this before, right? Finding talent's hard, hiring people's hard right now, right? For growing accounting firms, and so if you got to keep the people you have. Like that's the most efficient thing to do.
The reluctance of firm owners or team leaders to train is they say, well, if I train my staff, then they'll just go and get a different job. They'll get a better job. I'm training them and they'll leave. But what's worse, if you don't train them and they stay, right? They're probably going to leave anyway if you don't train them because they want the training, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
So there's one other article that I really liked, and I got to find it.
Was it in the newspaper? I hear you fitzing around. There's like a physical article this time.
I'm reading a physical magazine. It's such a weird experience for me. I wanted to share one of these stats, and I had to take a picture with my phone to get it into my notes. All right. So this article is by Sarah Beckett-Ference, also in the J of A magazine for August 2018. And it's about CAS, Client Accounting Services, my favorite thing to talk about because I had my own CAS firm. And CAS is getting a lot of attention recently because it's recently hit 10% of all CPA firm revenues are now from client accounting services, doing outsourced accounting, that sort of thing. It's more than doubled it's more than doubled in large firms. So firms with at least revenue of $10 million per year. CAS has doubled since 2014. From 2014 to 2016, it went from 3.9% to 9% of firm revenues. So now it's like a big thing. It's like partners are starting to pay attention to it, right?
Previously, I guess, true CPA firms, especially ones that did tax and other stuff, and audit, et cetera, pretty much weren't doing any of this type of accounting services, client accounting services.
Yeah, or it was like the ugly stepchild.
Okay, because I feel like from my point of view, the last the 15 years, QuickBooks world, right? Like that's what everybody was doing. Like that was the game, right? And they were all growing and they were all having success. But apparently I was just seeing a small fraction of the rest of the world. And now the rest of the world's kind of waking up to, there's opportunity there.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the world I was living in as well. It's especially in the cloud. These are firms that have embraced client accounting services. I mean, most of their revenue might be from that, but those were small firms, right? Cutting edge firms. So that was distorting our view.
Okay.
If you look at the entire accounting firm profession, revenue, all that stuff, if you look at all across the country, it was very small until recently. So now it's basically hit 10%, which to me is like a threshold that says this is significant. People should pay attention. It's going to grow. This article is about the risks of doing CAS. A lot of firms that are doing tax and audit, they don't know about the risks of CAS. And what I like about this article is it uses some real world examples of insurance claims that occurred as a result of liability from firms practicing CAS, but without the proper engagement letters and whatnot. So here are the two examples I'll give you. So there was a CPA acting as a de facto CFO for his or her client and didn't alert the client to some uncollectible accounts receivable. So the client had a large amount of accounts receivable that was stale, uncollectible, and didn't or claimed not to know that it was stale. And what happened is that the client borrowed on that AR, secured a line of credit based on that accounts receivable. Then, of course, the owner couldn't collect on the accounts receivable, defaulted, and went out of business. And then sued the CPA saying, hey, you should have notified me that this AR was uncollectible. You never said anything about it.
If you're going to do client advisory services, you're just putting yourself at risk because small businesses now are going to expect you to assume the liability for business decisions and business mistakes they make because you didn't advise them the right way.
Right.
It's kind of where this article heads towards. Got it.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of opportunity in getting involved as a business advisor, but there's also risk associated with that, right? If the business falls apart, you might get blamed for it. So it's really important to have clearly defined scope of services, an engagement letter that says whether you will or will not notify about this sort of thing and whether or not you will or will not have liability. I mean, that may not stop you from getting sued, but if you do get sued, it's going to save you or at least help a lot when it comes to settling that. So there was one other example I wanted to share with you, an example of a CPA who was doing outsourced accounting services, had an engagement letter, and then the client also wanted sales tax returns. So the firm started preparing sales tax returns based on the client's data. This, unfortunately, was never added into the original engagement letter. So they were basically doing the sales tax returns without having an engagement letter for it or a contract for it. And during this years-long sales tax preparation engagement, the sales tax law changed, but the firm didn't change the way it was doing these returns. And so then the government came back and hit the client with fees and back taxes and all this stuff, and the firm got blamed for it, right? So again, example of when you need to clearly define your engagement letter, what you're doing, and you also, if you're providing these ongoing services, you've got to make sure that you stay up to date with the changes in the laws so that you're not putting your clients at risk or yourself at risk.
Okay, so it's kind of reinforces the use of like some of the tools like a practice ignition or tools that help you create those engagement letters and those proposals, right? Because if you're constantly have to it's almost not scalable. If you just have a Word doc and that's your standard engagement letter, you either have to cover every possible thing in it, and then it's like overkill for people to sign that engagement letter because like, well, I don't want you to do that stuff for me. But you're going to have some tool to dynamically create these or dynamically modify that contract, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And the author, Sarah Ferentz, points this out in the article that you cannot just use a standard engagement letter. Every CAS engagement is different, and you have to have a way to define the scope very clearly, and not just one time. You have to periodically review that and make sure the client understands that so they have the proper expectation of what you are providing and what you aren't. And that's where a tool like Practice Ignition or any of these other proposal management tools, PandaDoc is another one that I've used, are super, super critical for outsourced accounting.
So this would be interesting. We should try to actually bring her on. And the reason why is, I mean, you've been on the side of the fence for a while. I've been on the side of the fence. And outside of like payroll, right, filings and sales tax filings, people haven't really talked about the risk to their firm very much, right? And so I think this is an interesting conversation that maybe hasn't taken place at all yet.
Yep.
Right. And it would be cool we should try to get her on. I think it would be very valuable.
Let's do it.
All right. I'll reach out to her. If you're listening, Sarah, please get a hold of me on Twitter at David Leary, or get a hold of Blake at Blake T. Oliver and join us, please.
Well, David, that's all I've got for this week. Oh, and I'm going to be on vacation in Seattle, so we might skip a week. We might do it. We'll see how it goes with me being mobile.
Okay. Or we could drop a bonus episode, or it depends on the news, right? I guess that'll dictate, right? If nothing happens, you just enjoy your vacation. But if we have to pull you out.
All right, David, great chatting. Talk to you again soon.
Awesome. Later. Bye, everybody.